Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Yeah, I know you're still watching the debate, but what the hell? This is the Ramble with Alex, and we go till midnight on the East Coast of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we go out to the West Coast to talk to a man who has absolutely no technology. Larry Bubbles Brown.
Yes. I need to still on dial-up.
Yeah.
I found a company here that provides really good high-speed internet service, but I have to go through have to contact the building owners because they have to put up an antenna on top of the roof. So I don't think the building owner's probably going to go for that. But.
Yeah. Well, but can't you just get normal, service?
AT&T said they can't. They said it wouldn't be. They could put me on a DSL, which would be not much faster because of the old wiring in the building here, which looks like it hasn't been changed since 1940. I don't know.
Well, then maybe the phone company should come in and redo the wiring.
That's what I was thinking, but I don't know if they want to spend that money.
Well, they don't want to spend that money, but the fact is that they have to. I'm sure. I'm sure there are apartments the size of your apartment house that have the old wiring, and they've gone in and done the new wiring so that everybody.
They have to, right?
I think they have to. I think there are rules and regulations and so on. I don't.
I've seen the box down there in the basement where the wires come in. It's just looks like Thomas Edison's.
So nobody in your entire apartment house has.
There got to be. I don't know any of the neighbors here, but they must have internet in this building, don't you think?
I would think so. I mean, how many people are there in the building?
12.
12. They've got to be 12 people who are complaining they don't have internet service.
Yeah.
Do you ever talk to your neighbors?
No.
Oh. I forgot.
You never see it. They're all like these new techies. They just kind of keep to themselves.
Well, if they're new techies, then they want to have high-speed internet, right?
They're probably all doing it on their phone. I don't know.
I'll tell you. Call. When's the last time you talked to AT&T or whoever the phone company is?
About a month ago.
I would call them again and say, hey, there are a lot of techies living in this building. I'm sure they've got some kind of internet. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh, it's horrible. It's just dial-up is just it's torture.
Well, of course it's torture. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And they should want to put it in there. They can get more money for it. I mean, all kinds of things. It's ridiculous. So.
See, I'm at the one end of the spectrum, then you were like on the other end. You were the first person I knew that had an email account.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was A Bennett, I think, at Hook.net.
Hook.net, yeah. Who were they?
That was a company called Hook, and I got to know them, and in fact, they became a sponsor at one point. And they were like one of the first that actually had that, where you could get yourself an email and so on and so forth. So,
I remember you kept saying about Hook.net. I had no idea what you were talking. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So what happened to them? They get bought up?
Oh, they died early on. I mean, because they were like one of the first ones to do it, so they're the smart guys on the block, right? They're the hip new people. And then all of a sudden the phone companies decide, well, this is a good idea. So then they get pushed out by the bigger companies. So that's what happened. I think what happened to them. I'm surprised I remember their name.
Hook.net.
Hook.net, yeah.
And you did have people that were emailing you at the time. I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember the radio station was so mad at me because I was doing all this technology. I would bring a computer into the studio, something had never been seen before. And they said, "Don't bring that computer in. You're spending all your time looking at it." You know. And I went, "Get with the program." You know, this you. And today, I mean, you go into a studio, into a radio studio, and there are dozens of computers in the studio.
I remember they were mad about that.
Yeah, they you can't operate without it, you know. So, but that was, let's face it, that was in the 1990s, right? 1980s. That I was doing.
Early 90s.
Yeah, and when I think about it, that's a long time ago. You know, that's like, what, 40 years, something like that?
Almost 30.
Almost 30. Well, if you make it the 1990s, it's 30. But if it's maybe 40 years, maybe 30, at least 35 years when I tried to bring a computer into the studio. So when I talk about it as being then and now, I mean, really, that was a long time ago.
So where would you see computers being 10 years from now?
Oh, I see computers not being everything practically that you can do on a computer, you can do on an iPad and on an iPhone or on a phone. Okay, you don't really need a physical computer,
right?
You know, so you can do I mean, I couldn't do this show without using a standalone desktop computer because the one I have has all kinds of giant power to it, you know, and is able to do a lot of things. But for normal people, I mean, all you need is your iPad. Really. All you need is your iPhone. All those things will do all the things most computers will do. And they're probably almost just as powerful now. Now they've added to it, 5K or whatever they call it, which is the new speed for over the air transmission, and it's so speedy that it's 20 times the speed of the service you have now just through your phone company, the regular service. So you know, where's it going? It's just, you know, there'll be a day you'll have a chip implanted in your head. I don't know, you know. And it'll do everything.
That doesn't sound too far off.
Doesn't sound, well, it is far off, but it's not that far off because I think of the days when I said, well, it's going to be far off before we really get what we have today. And if you think about it, it is far off. I mean, we talked about 35 years. You know, that's a lot of time in technology because technology what do they say? Every year it like doubles its power. You know.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you matriculate that over a period of 35 years, and you can see how far we've come. So I rest my case. I rest my case.
And the big tech companies will control us all.
Oh, the big tech companies will control us all. Yeah, they already are. You know, I mean, we're getting to the point now where they're thinking about breaking a lot of them up, okay? They want Google to, like, break up some of its services, like sell off YouTube to somebody else, you know.
They should.
Because they consider them a monopoly. Well, I don't know. You know, I'm mixed about this because we're talking about technology here. We're not talking about gas stations, all right? You know, when they took Standard Oil and, you know, said you can't be Standard Oil anymore, or whatever. Because what happens is they started a business from the ground up. They invented the technology. And now they're reaping the benefits of it. And they run it very well. I mean, I can't complain about Google, okay? I use YouTube for this program, and I've had little or no trouble with it. I have some complaints with the way they operate it and what I have to, you know, put up with. But on the whole, and that's just because I'm a complainer, on the whole, it's pretty well run. So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to like sit here and go, "Oh, woe is me, Google's screwing me"? What? I'm getting everything for free. I'm not paying to put my signal out on the internet, my video signal, and pay for it. There are a lot of places I can go and pay for it, but I'm not going to get as good service as I'm getting out of YouTube. Oh well. They compromise your privacy and so on. Fuck that. I'm willing to give a little bit of my privacy for free.
Well, I don't know. I don't like the way they just rape your privacy.
Well, are they raping your privacy, or are you allowing them to rape your privacy? I mean, when you see a company and they're offering you something for free, like Facebook, for instance, you've got to expect that there's some kind of payment you got to make, and that payment is your information. Not your private information necessarily, but information about you, about your buying habits and where you surf to and so on and so forth. And quite frankly, it's like you've said, the main joke in your act, your opening joke every time. Well, say it so they can hear it.
Someone stole my identity. Now his life sucks.
Yeah, exactly. So do you care if somebody steals your identity?
Well, the fact they're making money off it means we're not getting this for free.
But what you're doing is the currency that you're paying for it in is information about you, and it's not information like how many times a day do you masturbate or anything like that. It's basically like, where do you shop? What are your tastes? What do you like? I'll give you a good example. Okay, I went on YouTube the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and I started looking for everything about insurance, for health insurance, because we're being bumped out of our program at SAG-AFTRA, and I've got to go find a plan to replace it. And I go and I start watching a lot of YouTube videos to try and understand the lay of the land, like, what it means when you get this kind of advantage or you get supplemental and blah, 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 blah. I'm watching all these videos. Now, every time I go to a video on YouTube, what do I get an ad for? Right? Now, yeah. I could argue about that, and I could yell and scream about that, but that's how they make their money. Otherwise, if I had to pay for their service, for instance, I use YouTube to put this program out every night. If I wanted to go to a service to do it live, I would have to pay $75 a month. I'm paying zero. Okay? So it's $75 a month versus zero. I'm taking the zero. And the service is just as good, if not better, than the one for $75. And nobody knows that company, so they won't know to go over there. But if they're out surfing YouTube, they might see, Alex Bennett's Ramble come up, and they'll watch it. So what's the trade-off here? I mean, this company has provided me with a very decent service, and I'm not paying for it in the general sense, but information about me is the currency I'm paying with. And I don't mind that. Do you?
I guess. I don't like the fact that they tend to be censoring a lot.
I don't think they censor. What I've found they do is they if you don't live up to certain standards, in other words, there's some sexual content in your video or whatever, they will demonetize you, or at least limit your monetization if you're making money off the thing. Because I make money off it. I just got $103 put in my account by YouTube. Right? But they demonetize me a lot, because if I say the word fuck too much, that may have just demonetized me. Okay.
Wow.
But they have a right to do that because they're selling that space to advertisers, and they have to guarantee the advertisers they're not going to be in an atmosphere that is, shall we say, questionable. Now, that doesn't mean I don't still get ads. I just don't get certain kinds of ads. So. I don't know that they're I don't feel they're censoring that much. I find Facebook more of a problem. If I were to play some song right now, they would immediately blank me out if I was doing it live.
Yeah, Facebook seems to be the worst.
Yeah. YouTube will tell me, well, you used music which is in copyright, and the copyright owner has the right to run their own ads on your site rather than you on your video. So anyway, it's weird. Anyway, hey, we've run out of time.
Oh, geez.
And we've been talking about technology with Larry Bubbles Brown. That's amazing. See you next week.
You're educating me.
See you next week, Larry.
You got it.
Bye-bye.
Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Bow! Yeah, there's Larry Bubbles Brown once again, ladies and gentlemen, on our fine program. And it's time for you to call. If you want to figure out how to call, just go to gabnet.net. On the right-hand side of the page, there's a column. In the middle of that column, it says Zoom us on our program. It says Zoom. Just click on that, and it will immediately send you here, and then we'll put you on the program. Okay? It's that simple. I mean, it's that easy. All right? Also, tonight, I guess there's something to talk about. If you all watched the debate, I watched it up until about the last 15 minutes, and I had to come in here and get this show going. I was going to play something. I'll give you a little hint of what it was, but I decided not to, and I'll tell you why. Here, let me see here. Where's that? Go to this. All right, roll tape.
Are you ready for some tough questions?
You're going to be fair.
I'm going to be fair.
Just be fair.
But last time, I remember you saying to me, bring it on, bring it on.
No, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for fairness. That's all.
You're going to get fairness. But you're okay with some tough questions.
No, I'm not.
You're not okay with tough
I want
questions?
to be fair. You don't ask Biden tough questions.
Me?
Huh?
I don't even.
It's terrible.
I
It's
only
terrible.
interview you.
You know that. Okay. Are you ready?
Everybody ready?
We're up.
Okay. Can I start?
Let's do 1 second. Close the door. Hurry up, lift just a little drop. Should be fine.
Am I okay?
You're good.
Okay,
Yep.
I'm ready. So we have the pandemic.
All right. So anyway, then they go into the interview. I watched the whole thing. It's about 38 minutes long. Trump put it up on his Facebook page, and that is a camera that was set up independent of CBS's when they were doing the 60 Minutes interview. And they say he walked out on the interview. It's not like he walked out on the interview, like, I can't take this anymore, I'm leaving. It's more if I were to go to the very end of it. Let me see if I can somehow. Well, I can't do it. I can't do it now. Let me see here. Could I do it? Could I bring up towards the end of the interview? Is that possible? I don't think so. No. Okay. Well, what I want to do. What happens at the end is he goes, "How much time do we have left?" And I said 5 minutes, and he said, "Let's just stop it now." And basically, that's what he said. He could have kept going, but it wasn't like he absolutely just, "Goodbye, I'll see you later, guys." I'm not going to deal with this any longer. It wasn't that kind of thing. But I decided not to play it because basically, if you just saw the debate, you heard all the same talking points over and over and over and over. Well, I don't want to hog the fun on this whole deal. Let me admit two people who are waiting to get on our panel here, and then we can go to them. There's Charlie Wallace should be joining us any second. There's Robert Natali. Hello, Robert.
How are you, Alex?
Yes, I suppose you saw the debate, right?
I did. Well, yeah, unenthusiastically, yes.
Unenthusiastically. Why do you say unenthusiastic?
Because it's not a debate. It's not a debate. I don't really need to say too much more than that.
I don't know that we need debates. Do you?
No. Honestly, I think that the meal is already in the oven nationwide. Frankly, I think this satisfies our nation's need for events. You know, I think our nation loves Super Bowls and Oscar parties and who's going to win and who's going to lose and all that shit, and makes this into something of a circus. And then we complain that it becomes something of a circus. So,
Yeah.
you know, I watch only to, you know, to have a sense of what happened. My thing is, if I were Joe Biden's people, I would have described this as the 15th round of a championship fight where Biden is way ahead on points. Don't trade punches with the guy, you know, just stick and jab and try your best not to get hit.
Right.
Because if you just survive this round, you'll win.
Did he survive the round?
I think he did. I think he stumbled here and there. I think Trump is good at this format because he just obliterates the moderator and makes it into, you know, his own personal thing.
Yeah. But my question is, do you think there'll be any change in the stats, in the polls because of
Nope.
this? Yeah.
Not one iota.
The only weakness I saw in Biden, okay, and this has nothing to do with being president, okay, was that when he was a kid he had a stutter. And he really hasn't totally lost the stutter.
Right.
And so it's still there, and you kind of plays itself as a weakness, which it really shouldn't. You know, I mean, if some guy stuttered his way through the presidency and nothing changed in the United States, I'd say, good. I'm glad he stuttered. You know, but it was a. I don't want to see this hurting Biden. I don't think Biden did anything that would hurt himself. I think he could have defended himself just a little bit better. I think he could have parsed things in a certain way, like when it came to, oh, your son made 80 trillion, quadrillion, the amount always changes in the Ukraine. And that whole fact that Trump never paid taxes over here, basically. And then he had a bank account in China, which I think he probably still has, or somebody in the family still has. I know Ivanka probably does because she sells her products in China.
Of course.
And China wants some of that money to stay there.
Sure.
Okay, so his family has investments over there. I mean, this is a guy who's never been transparent about his wealth or about his, you know, he doesn't want anybody to know how poor he is. Okay? Let's face it. If we knew how poor he was, we'd be worried about the security of this country, because there are some of the, we would like to know, how much money do you have? How much money do you owe? And of that money that you owe, who do you owe it to? Okay? Then we can tell whether the guy is compromised at all by this. But I don't think we're at that point. You know, I mean, he just never has done it. So
See, I could do the same technique that Trump does. I could do it with you right now, Alex. You and I could have a conversation, and in the middle of the conversation, I could say, Alex, you know, it came out just earlier. I don't know who said it, but I'm hearing about this woman in New Rochelle that you were involved with.
Right.
Now,
right.
you now have to spend the next 5 minutes denying something that I made up out of whole cloth. And as a result, you never really get to speak to your policies or the deficiencies of what it is that my argument is. I just throw shit at the wall, and now you're on the defensive.
Well,
He's
also,
very good at that.
Also, I mean, with Trump, it's never a discussion about, well, if you're president for another 4 years, what are you going to do? And then have him answer that question.
Nope.
Okay? You could have done that in any other debate. I mean, if it were Bush versus whoever, or if it were Obama versus Romney, I mean, they would both answer that question. And it wouldn't be like all of a sudden all kinds of chicanery trying not to answer the question. So, I mean, you know, what you're right about is I find the debate format kind of stupid. Okay, it does. Whoever wins a debate doesn't necessarily become the best president.
No.
You know, And so I wonder about that, and I wonder about why you were saying we like that kind of competition thing. Every year with the Oscars, we have a competition for what is the best piece of art.
Yeah, how do you do that anyway?
I mean,
how do you compare
yeah.
that?
Which is the best movie? Well, we got a comedy here, we got a
Yeah.
science fiction picture, we've got a musical. Which is the best picture?
But we have, as a nation, we have this need for events, and we have this need to measure things in terms of number one.
Well,
how do you compare Joe Rabbit to a goddamn animated film? I don't understand how you do that.
Well, my question would be, who in the world are we talking about here? I mean, what are we talking about as the I don't know. I don't agree with the whole concept of these events, as it were. But you know why we have these events? The reason we have these events is because, very simply, the American public doesn't want. Well, it's the news operations that are ginning the thing up.
Yeah.
And then you listen to them talk about it before it happens, and you're going, geez, they're acting like this is some kind of like like before a football game, and they're all sitting around saying, well, if so and so does such and such a defense and blah blah blah. That's exactly what you're hearing the day before.
Yep.
You're hearing the pregame show. And when they at the beginning of the night, when we tuned over, there was about 5 minutes before the hour. There was what's her name on MSNBC? I can't remember her name now. The lesbian.
Rachel
Maddow.
Rachel Maddow.
And I looked at Marjorie and I said, "Oh, it's the red carpet." I mean, it's the red carpet show. I mean, we don't have any people showing up and saying, "Who are you wearing?" But clothes.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, if you compare MSNBC's analysis to Fox's, you can tell that Fox is targeting a much lower IQ level of people than what MSNBC.
Well, they have an audience. They're going after a certain audience, and they they get that audience, and they have to play to that audience. That doesn't mean that they're going to be that they're right. It's just that they're playing to that audience. And look, MSNBC is playing to their audience.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing I don't like about MSNBC, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, and that is the thing I don't like about MSNBC is that they're just trying to make me happy. They're trying to tell me everything I want to hear. Well, tell me some stuff I don't know. Tell me some stuff that makes me think. Don't tell me something that simply, strokes me. And it makes me feel better about my misbegotten feelings about things.
See, we're all of a certain age, more or less. And back when we were kids, you turned on the news, you turned on Walter Cronkite. And Walter Cronkite, among others, Huntley, Brinkley, and what they did was they reported the news, and that's what you heard. And then you made the best of that information as you chose.
Yeah.
The proliferation of cable television and satellite television allows for news that you want to hear in the manner in which you want to hear it. Journalistic ethics are now out the window. Anybody with a goddamn cell phone is now a reporter, and they're not beholden to any journalistic ethics whatsoever. So in effect, what it's done is it's created this sense of hyper-partisanship where the people, I tuned in to Fox when the debate was over just to get a sense of what they were saying. But in the end, they're not going to convince me. And the people that are watching Fox have already pulled the lever in their mind for Trump anyway. The people who are watching MSNBC know which way they're going to vote anyway.
Right.
So, it's all a money-making machine for those two individual news outlets. It isn't moving the needle.
Right. So, here on this program, we used to have a guy called The Show who was very much to the right and would always bespeak Trump's cause and case, okay? He doesn't call the program anymore, not because I've told him not to, but because he chooses not to. But the point is that I liked having him here because he did speak that other voice. The thing I don't miss is that he was so interruptive that he made it impossible for other people to get their point across. And that's why he would only be allowed back on this program if he was a little less rude to the rest of the panel, okay? But I like that other voice being there because I think it's important. No, I disagree with him entirely, but I think that his voice was important because it made us at least justify what we felt about things and question some of the feelings we had. Now, I used to get letters from people constantly going, kick that guy off the show. I won't listen to you unless you get rid of him. And I was very stubborn about keeping him on for exactly the reason I'm talking about, you know, that I don't think that I was going to take him off because he, you know, didn't fit in, as it were. And people, but what I got were people who didn't want to hear on this program anything that was opposed to what they thought. And that was the reason why I was so stubborn about keeping him on. Because you should hear him. He should be a voice. He should be here. What happened eventually was he just became uncontrollable as a participant and made it rough on the show itself and on the participation of all of you and getting your word in edgewise. And that's why when he went, I made no attempt to say, oh, please stay, you know. But that was the reason I got rid of him wasn't because of all those people that wrote in saying, you got to keep him off. I still, when I talk about him, like right now, I'll get a letter from somebody saying, oh, you're just opening the door for him to come back. Don't let that happen. You know, that's not why he's not here, you know. So, you know, what do we do, you know? I mean, but that's what we do. We live in an age where people are, you know, you got to hear. You know, they want to hear what they want to hear, and it's kind of, I don't know. There's something wrong with it. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, my little perspective. I think the biggest problem with Huz was that he would often use what I call Fox information that was totally lying stuff, bad information, and he had no way of proving it to be right or wrong.
Well, that I don't think is what bothered me as much as the fact that he was rude to other people. In other words, he was disruptive to everybody getting a feeling they could get their 2 cents worth in. And that's the problem. Yes, but anyway, what I was saying is what bothered me about it was that the audience reaction was, we don't want to hear him. We don't want to hear him. Get him off the air because we don't agree with what he's saying. And that's what I hated about when I was on Sirius Left on Sirius. What bothered me about that was I used to get a lot of complaints from people because I wasn't 100% for Obama. I mean, I felt that he had questionable qualities as a president, especially during his first term. And I think the thing that eventually probably got me thrown off Sirius was the fact that I was critical of Obama. And I was critical of liberals. I said I didn't like liberals particularly because liberals can't be trusted. As Phil Oakes once said, they're 10 degrees to the left in good times and 10 degrees to the right when it affects them personally. I don't think you can trust a liberal. So I never liked that. And then people called them progressives. That one really drove me nuts, you know. So because I had that feeling and I had that openness about how I felt about things, and that if you're going to be, I said, don't call yourself a liberal, don't call yourself a progressive, say you're a leftist. You know, have some balls, call yourself a leftist. That just didn't play well. And who's that guy with a lot of money who gives money to the Democratic Party? What's his name?
Soros.
Soros, I think, had something to do with me getting kicked off. because the guy that replaced me was in Soros's pocket. Okay. And I think Soros was just not happy with what I was doing. And then I think Sirius heard from Soros about it and didn't want to get on Soros's bad side. So I was out the door, and nobody would ever tell me why I was being let go. So that's why I suspect that to be true. And if it's true, great. I take that as a badge of courage because I consider Soros an asshole too. You know?
They should have given you credit for being president of Antifa.
Yeah, I know. I was I think maybe that was the reason they eventually got rid of me. You know,
Shady character.
Yeah, shady character that I am. So, did you feel that Trump improved his chances tonight at all?
No.
He didn't do anything new.
No, he just continues to lie. You know.
Yeah.
Well, what I think Biden he's not cutthroat enough. You know, he should just when Trump starts bringing up all this bullshit about the laptop and Giuliani's crap, Biden should just step right up and say, "This is bullshit. It's Russian propaganda, and you know it is. You know, I mean, you know, all the major media has none of them has touched it. The guy that won't even put his name on the articles in the New York Post.
Okay, but let's face it, Biden had a deficit tonight, and that deficit was he's ahead. Okay. Yeah. And so you don't want to do anything to blow that. So if he went out and just attacked Trump and attacked all his this and all his that and whatever, he basically the only thing he had to do was defend his family. But to go after Trump, that would have just could have turned off some people. You know, could have turned off some people. Need. You don't want to lose anybody. You want to gain people. And
just don't
the
get
times
hit.
When he played it best is when he looked directly in the camera and spoke to the person at home and said, you know how difficult it is for you to buy a new pair of tires and blah, 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 blah. Then he, I think, really worked because what Joe has going for him is he's a real Joe. You know, he's got the common man touch. And I think he understands, you know, I think you mentioned it last night, Robert, that, you know, somebody who's had pain in his life
yes,
comes to something with a different approach.
Yes.
And he's had so much.
I believe that.
Yeah. When's Trump ever had any real pain in his life? You know, his brother died, but he didn't really like his brother.
He didn't give a shit.
Yeah, he didn't give a shit. You know? Huh? Yeah.
He cheated family out of money too.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you don't think about him as having that kind of, you know, Biden went through some terrible stuff. I mean, you got your wife and a kid killed in a car crash, and you have another one die of brain cancer, who was the hero of the family, the guy who you know went to the Mideast and fought wars and so on. You know, and the only thing you can go after is the one kid in the family who had a drug problem. Well, I don't know how many families you know, but I know a lot of families, and I think if I said each one of them, do you know anybody or have anybody in your family who has had a drug problem, they'd all raise their hands. So Trump doesn't even know who the American public is.
Yeah.
You know, and that's his deficit.
I have a friend in Texas who uses an expression which I always think of with Trump. Maybe Charlie's been in Texas a while. Maybe he knows the expression. My friend always says about Trump, all hat, no cattle.
Yeah.
All hat, no cattle. I mean, I wish I could sit here and say, oh, Trump did good on this and he did good on that. I just dislike him so much I can't even look at him with any kind of kindness in my heart, you know? But I'm...
Well, he just blatantly lies in his ads.
Oh, the ads are amazing. The ones with Biden where where Biden says, I'm going to raise taxes. But
he cuts them off in mid-word.
Wait a minute, but they don't finish the sentence, which was on everybody over $400,000 a year.
Right.
You know, so and then he uses Fauci in his ads. You know, I mean, yes, Jeff.
Did anybody notice that they never really stopped him from talking?
No, I agree.
I thought that was part of the deal.
I agree.
They did cut him off at some point.
I never heard it.
Well,
Not effectively.
one point where they said 2 minutes, and at the 2 minutes, you heard the mic turn off. And I guess he could kind of hear it because he couldn't hear his voice in the room, and he stopped. But they didn't. By the way, how do you think Kristen Welker did?
Pretty good.
I thought she was terrific.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm in love with her.
Yeah, that you have a bias.
Yeah, yeah. But wouldn't you agree with me? Is that not one of the loveliest women in news?
She's also a good reporter.
She's a great reporter. She's a smart lady.
Yep.
But man, she is just, I look at her and I just go, oh, God, I wish I were young again. Oh, you know. But then again, just like anybody of her sort, she wouldn't have wanted me anyway. So, you know, it doesn't matter. But, I mean, she is so attractive and so smart and has such poise. And I think she did a good job tonight. I think what she was trying to do was stay out of the way as much as possible and not get into any dust up with Trump or dust up with Biden. And, you know, you're in a combustible room. So, you know, you have a chance at making the place kind of blow up, right? And who wants that?
I think she got bullied too often, frankly. I think there were too many times where she attempted to stop Trump, and Trump just like talked right over her, just steamrolled.
He never backed off.
No.
Yeah. It wasn't the train wreck that the first debate was.
No.
But I think that's because, number one, Biden wanted to stay away from getting into that give and take, and having to call him any names. And I think he wanted to seem like he was being a little better. You know, not enough, but a little better. I saw this. Anybody see the interview with Trump with Leslie Stahl? Because I'm looking forward to seeing it on Sunday and seeing how it got edited.
I've seen pieces.
Yeah, I have the whole thing here. I was going to play it tonight, and then I figured, you know, everything he says in the interview, for the most part, is the same thing he was saying on stage tonight.
Same old shit.
Yeah, and the same way of answering questions, you know, being asked a question and answering another one.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And, you know, I mean, I felt that the idea that he was being treated unfairly by Leslie Stahl just wasn't true. See, Trump takes...
so ridiculous.
Well, Trump looks upon the press. If they interview him and ask him a tough question, okay, that's the job of a reporter. It would be my job if anybody were here to ask them some tough questions if they were politicians. But if anybody asks him a tough question, they're being unfair. Well, no, Leslie Stahl wasn't being unfair. She was asking him about all the questions that people have been asking him lately.
Yeah.
You know, and at one point he says, I've had the best economy that anybody's ever had in the history of the United States, whatever. And she just simply said, Donald, you know that's not true.
Right. She sounded like she was motherly, right? Like, come on, little boy. You know that you stole the candy.
You know that's not true.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, it is. It absolutely is. The part I love tonight, and I thought about this for a second, when he came up with his, I've done more things for blacks than anybody since Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, give me a break.
Number one, Abraham Lincoln really only did one thing for the blacks, okay? Only one thing. On the other hand, what president did about 10 things?
Yeah.
Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah.
Yep. Lyndon Johnson. He hasn't done more for blacks than Lyndon Johnson.
No.
Listen, he hasn't done more for blacks than the KKK.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And by the way, since Lyndon Johnson, he knew at the time he did it, he was told, you're going to lose the South to the Democratic Party for a generation.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's proven to be more than true.
Very true.
They became the Dixiecrats, as they were once called, all became Republicans.
Yeah.
Richard Russell, people of that sort.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you know, a guy who did more than Abraham Lincoln. Well, no, I can tell you right now that Lyndon Johnson absolutely did more than Abraham Lincoln ever did. And if I had to add some other people, I think Roosevelt did a lot for equality and for helping the races. He wasn't, you know, he didn't do some of the landmark decisions and stuff, but he was in there, you know, doing his part.
And Truman integrated the military.
Truman
Yes, he
integrated
did.
the military. That's right.
Well, but you got to give it to Abraham Lincoln. He did end slavery and kept the country together. You got to give him that.
But yeah, but I'm saying that, you know, when you say he did more for the
Well,
you know,
well, taking people out of slavery, that's a pretty big thing. I
that's
mean, you know,
yeah, absolutely. But
I mean, if it came down to you can vote, but you're still going to be a slave, I'd say, okay, I don't want to be a slave, and I don't
Yeah,
need to vote.
yeah.
of course, you know, there's a good question you can ask though. Was Lincoln against slavery because he felt it was an inhumane thing to do, or was he against slavery because he wanted to create economic sanctions against the South?
I think the former.
What, that he wanted economic sanctions against
I
the
think
South?
in his heart of hearts, I think a lot of presidents in their heart of hearts knew that slavery was wrong, but they also knew that politically it was a quagmire. They also knew that politically it was not safe territory. Look, John F. Kennedy, back in the days where they were trying to integrate the Southern universities, John F. Kennedy knew that in all cases that these things were wrong, but he also knew that it was a quagmire politically. And so political motivation and what your heart tells you are often two separate things, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I would have did, Alex, when he kept mentioning he did so much for the black?
yeah.
Biden should have just said, you did more for the colored than Kennedy and LBJ. I mean, he should have put him right on the spot there. Because that's like almost like just pissing on that legacy, the whole civil rights
Well,
movement.
LBJ passed more legislation for blacks
He should have just brought that up and just hammered it right
than
up.
any president in history. Well, yeah, Biden should have brought that up, but he
I was
didn't.
saying on the couch, why doesn't he just bring it up and just end it? Make him look stupid.
Well, look, I like Joe. I've gotten to like Joe much more lately than I did when he started running. You know, I question whether he could go the course and do a good job, but he has. He's doing a good job of running for president. I think he's looking a little exhausted right now, a little tired. I would be too. This has been going on for how long? 2 years?
Too long.
Yeah.
You know,
It's been
I
a
mean,
long year too,
the whole season should only be like 8 months, 9 months, and that's it. You know. But I've gotten to kind of like Joe, and I feel that he would be an okay president. I don't think he'd be the greatest president ever, but he'd be he'd be a good president. He'd keep his stewardship over the country would be solid.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, John.
Wouldn't have,
If he does get elected, he won't have to worry about running again, because I don't think he's going to run again. So at least he'll be able to concentrate on 4 years of being president.
Well, you know, the trouble with Trump was he started running for his second term the first day he was in office.
day
Yeah.
one.
And
Day after the inauguration.
And really, you shouldn't do that till it's about the year before. You know, I don't think Obama was worrying about his second term one day after his first term started. You know, and I think if you strap that around yourself, you really strap yourself with a big problem. You know, and a bad mindset, as it were. Have you heard the latest about Rudy Giuliani?
Oh, I follow him on Twitter. I hope he goes down.
Well,
Alex, Trump has to have the goods on him. Why is he so in bed with him?
well, to begin with, let's be honest. Rudy Giuliani's a crook, plain and simple.
Yeah.
No question about it.
Yeah.
I know it from people that know it. Okay, so that's how I know it. Uh, he, but the latest thing is there's a movie coming out, gee, in just a couple of hours
I can't wait to see
on
it.
Netflix
May watch.
with the newest Borat film. Now, because he did Borat the first time, it's kind of hard for him to go places and put people on as Borat because they know who Borat is. They know that it's Sacha Baron Cohen, and he's doing put-ons, and he's going to embarrass you. Okay, they didn't know that for the first film. So in this film, he hired a woman to play his Borat's sister, and they're going out together. So that when he wants somebody to go in and do something where they don't want anybody to know who's doing it, okay, and pull it off, they use her, okay? So supposedly in this one segment in the film, she invites Rudy Giuliani up to her hotel room to do an interview. And he's got the microphone on and everything, and they do the interview, okay? And then they're through. This is all on film. And then he's through with the interview, and he takes off the mic, and then he sits down, gets out of the chair supposedly, and lies down on the bed, puts his hand in his pants, and starts playing with himself. This is going to be on television tomorrow.
Yep. Is it going to go viral, do you think?
Viral? It doesn't have to go viral. It's on Netflix.
I want everybody to see it, though.
There were
already denying the whole thing.
What?
He's already denying the whole thing and saying.
You think Rudy's circumcised? We might find out.
Well, I know he has seeds in his prostate, and they were put there by the same doctor who did me. You know.
You should ask your doctor. Is he circumcised?
Is he circumcised? Yeah, he ought to know. Charlie, did you say something about it?
Yes, I saw something on YouTube showing him lying on the bed playing with himself.
Oh, really? It's
so
already
got excerpts on YouTube.
It's already there, huh?
Oh my God!
I'll take everybody's word for it. I really don't need to see Rudy Giuliani playing with his pecker. I don't.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think.
And she does look older than 15.
Well, oh yeah, but he's told by him.
I know.
She tells him she's 15, and
Oh,
he
God.
still does this in spite of the fact that she's 15.
And he doesn't know any of this?
No.
Can they lock him up, you think?
No.
I'm hoping
Well, he
they
didn't commit a crime. You know.
But the embarrassment, how's he going to spin this?
Oh,
now?
he's in trouble with Me Too, but does he care?
Yeah.
He may drop dead after this.
Huh? We can only hope. Okay.
That's another funeral that would be nice to hear.
No, what I would like to do, I don't want to see him die. I want to see him live so he walks down the street and everybody's going,
yeah.
You know,
Oh my God.
laughing at him, you know. But Rudy supposedly, you know, is a pawn of the Russians.
He is.
Yeah. And
Like Trump.
well, look, you know, I don't even want to know what is going on with Trump. I mean, there are some things so bad there that I don't think we want to know what they are. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I think this guy has used the United States Treasury and the United States of America as his personal bank book.
Yep.
Okay?
He's a full-on dictator.
I don't know that he's a dictator yet.
A wannabe dictator.
He wannabe
Yeah,
dictator.
he wants to be one.
But he's not a dictator yet. He does have in his pocket Bill Barr, for instance, the Attorney General of the United States. So that, you know, tell Bill Barr, go after Obama. You know, go get my political enemies. I mean, he treats the presidency like it is a dictatorship without the ability to have all the power that a dictator has. I mean, I'm sure he's jealous of Putin, you know, because Putin.
He said he is.
Yeah, he says Putin's a great leader. He's got that country in control. You know, I mean, and also you want to talk about somebody who uses a country for his personal pocketbook. I mean, Putin may be the richest man in the world.
Really?
Yeah, but we don't know for sure because we don't know the extent of his true wealth. But he made a deal with the oligarchs, which are the money guys in England, in Russia, that they had to give him a certain percentage, like 25% of everything they earned. Otherwise, he was going to put him in jail. Okay? So he gets like 25% of all the oligarchs' money, and that is supposedly somewhere in the range of $75 billion.
Wow.
Which would probably make him the richest man on the planet, right? I think.
He gave them carte blanche to buy out all the government-owned businesses. The oil companies and the power companies.
Yeah.
And if you didn't abide by what he said, he'd fucking throw you in jail like he did to that one guy.
Yeah.
Kornakovsky or whatever.
So what do you think about you think the debate tonight didn't change anything?
Nope.
No way.
Yeah. I wonder what they're saying on Drudge. Drudge always does these polls. I can bring myself to look at Drudge now because I know he's not on Trump's side. So I can.
Trump is now touting this new Drudge site called Revolver News.
Is it run by Drudge or is it a Drudge-like site?
It's an aggregator like Drudge, but it's all just right-wing Russian propaganda bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, look, McConnell's got a health alarm, all bruised up.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he looks bad.
His hands are all black.
Wait a minute, let me look at this picture here. His
hands, they look like they're black.
I can show our audience if it ever comes up. Here it is.
Bruce
he denies he has any health problems.
Some kind of cardiac thing, or I don't know.
Well, wait a minute. Let me show you, folks. I'll bring up the. This is for the audience here. Look at that. There he is. Wait a minute. Close this so you get the full picture. There we go. Look at that. He look around there on the mouth, folks. See that?
Can't see it.
Well, you can't see it because it's on it's on the show. It's on the air. He's got something on his chin.
What's the website?
Then his hands. He's got look, bandages on his hands.
Help me! I know nothing about this.
Got some kind of like a heart thing or something, because his hands are turning black, literally.
Well, let me see here. Here, you see, folks. That's what he's
saying.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Black.
Well, that may just be
like a corpse.
But he does not look
bandages and stuff.
Yeah, he does not look well, folks.
Well, he won't be missed. Let me tell you.
He won't be missed.
Okay. I gotta say, I say, I agree. Hate corrupts, but sometimes, like when you step in dog shit, you hate the fucking person who didn't clean up the dog shit.
Yeah. But anyway, let me see. Does he have a poll?
Sometimes you don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't have. He's not running a poll tonight. Yeah. On who do you think won tonight? So anyway, they say 49 million people have already voted in the election.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's up big.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of interesting. That's very interesting, to tell you the damn truth. Yeah. Well. Anyway.
I think that's all. I think that's bad. That's a bad omen for Trump. I think.
A bad omen in what respect?
I think the people that are voting early are people they're the same people that were marching in the streets, on the Women's Day. Right after he got elected.
Well,
I was wondering, guys, when all those people came out on the street, I was like, why the fuck didn't they all vote? Where were they?
Yeah, well, I think this time it's going to be, they say this may be the largest vote of all time.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if 40 was it, what did I say, 49? Was it 49
million already?
It voted already. By election day, that's got to be many, many more than that. And how many voted in the last election? It wasn't more than about 100,000, was it?
No, it was 66 million for Hillary and 63 million for Trump.
Okay, so we could very well hit that amount of people
beat that.
before we even get to election day. Because, like here in New York, we haven't done it yet, We haven't had ours. What is it? This Saturday, I think it starts. That we
think
start.
so, Saturday.
Yeah, we're able to vote. So you dragging your mother off to the polls to vote, or are you doing it by mail?
You know, I wanted to do by mail, but the school's only 2 blocks away, so she wants to vote in person.
Well,
So I'm going to chance it, I think.
I think if you have her wear a mask through the whole
Yeah.
thing, okay, and just to stick with the mask wearing and the social distancing, you should be okay. And even if you don't social distance, the reason for the masks is if you don't social distance. So I think don't let her touch your face when you're.
No,
when you
I mean,
get-
I'm going to have to take her up there. So,
or
be
bring some Purell with you so you can wipe
Yeah,
your
well,
hands.
she has everything in her handbag. So, I mean,
Yeah,
we have extra masks.
I think if you're careful, you'll be okay. You
And
know?
it's like Shecky, by Shecky's house, the school's across the street. My school is like a block and a half away. I
Yeah.
can be there at home like in 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. So,
And if she's good, I may buy her a cup of coffee. Then I tell her on the way.
did your mother watch the debate tonight?
She don't care. She just wants him dead or out of office. One of them does it first.
Whichever comes first.
Whichever comes first. He doesn't really know.
You know, you're really in trouble when
Which
Tony's
one?
mom wants you dead.
My Aunt Jersey hates him. My Aunt Maria. She hates him.
Hates.
So she calls me. She's like, I can't take watching this. She drinks wine, my Aunt in Jersey in Cresco, and calls me. She says, I have to drink when I watch this guy. She says, because he makes me sick.
Wow.
So my mother doesn't drink. She just has tea, Alex. But she don't understand everything. All she knows is he's a pig. That's all she needs to know.
Wow. Yeah.
She says, who do you think, she'll say who won. She says, I don't care. Either he's dead or out of office, one or the other.
Gee, we have a low viewing rate tonight. I wonder why. Maybe everybody's exhausted with the debate.
Watching the post-game show.
The post-game shows, you think so? Yeah.
This NBC last debate actually did 3 hours live of post-debate analysis. I thought to myself, you could conjugate every verb in the goddamn debate in 3 hours less.
Well, what the trouble is, we've got these news networks, and quite frankly, they're all money driven, and all they look upon this debate as something that makes them money. Oh, it doesn't make them money for an hour and a half because they can't run commercials, but after that's over with, hey, they run their post show and their pre shows and they're all of that and the red carpet and the after party, whatever. And they keep it going as long as they think it can go because they're getting their top rates for that.
For sure.
And right now, I got to tell you, television's doing very badly, money-wise. Got to be. And the way you can tell is look at the commercials they're running. Even the networks in prime time. They're not top-notch, top-level advertisers. You'll see a 2-minute advertisement in prime time for a bake oven. Well, how much are they paying for that?
Yeah.
Nothing. Okay.
You don't see Coke and Pepsi anymore.
No, and you don't see you don't see when you see advertising. The only advertising they're getting to any appreciable extent right now is political advertising.
Drug companies.
Insurance companies.
And drug companies because it's Medicare time. It's the time when you got to sign up for your Medicare plan, which we're involved in the middle of. So every time I hear an ad for Medicare supplement plan, I immediately look and watch, and I'm sold on it. When I go to YouTube, they know because I went online. I mentioned this to Bubbles. I went online a couple of months ago, I guess, when I didn't know exactly how the whole buying Medicare supplemental worked, okay, and what each of the plans were. So I went on and looked at YouTube videos on buying Medicare plans and how to go about it and what each of them mean and so on. I got a good education doing that. After that, every ad that played before I watched a video,
of course,
was for one of these insurance plans. Yeah,
if you ever give your phone number to one of those lead brokers, you'll get about 150 calls for like the next 3 days.
Yeah, yeah.
And they'll never stop calling you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So the one day I had wanted to see something about how much a certain company was charging, so they wanted my email address. All of a sudden, I'm getting emails up the gazang
sell 'em.
from these insurance companies.
They're lead brokers. They make a fortune.
Yeah, yeah. So but I mean, it just made me very, it made me realize that they're preying on me, basically. Yeah. Whatever. Anyway, let's see. Peter Arno writes on 538, the best poll aggregator and election predictor, Nate Silver. Biden has slipped almost a full point in recent days from 10.7 points ahead to 9.9. And if it goes down 0.1 or 0.2 every day, scary. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
He's talking about a national poll, which is the popular vote.
Yeah.
Which it really is of no import, as we found out 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't worry about that, Peter. It says, let's see here, Tony, you're risking losing your meal ticket. You can't lose Mom. Oh, wait a minute, we just lost Tony. Oh, there's the hideous wallpaper and that chintz curtain of his.
Maybe we should get Trump to show up at his house and throw shit at the wall like he does all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the house looks like that Tony lives in, but I bet you it's the psycho house.
Where's the shower curtain?
There it is.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so we don't have as many people tonight. It's interesting. Usually we go pretty high, but I think everybody's getting to the point of exhaustion.
Absolutely.
But I don't know how this will play itself out. But I don't think Biden's going to lose any ground on this.
Nope.
I don't think he gained any.
Nope.
He's got to win in a landslide, because if it's not a landslide, Trump's going to steal it. He's going to drag it into court.
It's got to be undeniable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have a funny feeling it's going to be. I just have this funny feeling that this is all these people pre-voting are people who are for Biden.
Yeah, for sure.
And that I don't think Trump people get that enthusiastic. They love to go to. Why do they go to his rallies? They go to his rallies because they want a good laugh. It's like going to a comedy show.
Yeah.
Right?
Rock concert.
I bet a lot of those people just follow the rallies around too. They're not actually from the areas. They're like Grateful Dead groupies.
Well, Kevin sent me a picture. The audience he always has in back of him. Kevin sent me a picture, and there's a black guy.
Yeah.
And at every rally, he's in the background.
Yeah.
He's there. So he's
designated hitter.
We used to have these things called Deadheads, Grateful Dead fans. And they used to travel from town to town following the Grateful Dead. And it's pretty much what you're seeing here.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, I love Nate Silver. I brought him up here when I first started coming on the show.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of his, and I do trust a lot of the major polls, Quinnipiac and so on. I have my own personal poll, which is unofficial, but I kind of swear by it, and it goes as follows.
Okay.
I could personally name 10 people that I know who voted for Trump in 2016 that are voting for Joe in 2020. Out in the public sector, just watching TV, I could probably name 100 such people who voted for Trump and are going to vote for Joe. I know no one who's going the other way around.
Well, the point is, if you look at Joe Biden, there's nothing really objectionable about him. Okay? There's everything objectionable about Trump. And somebody said that the thing that Trump has going against him now is when he ran the last time, he was the outsider trying to get in. And everybody a lot of people kind of like that. Oh, hey, let the outsider go in there, They always have, as I said, it's what I call the Mr. Smith goes to Washington myth. You know,
Yep.
let's have what a hero. Let's send the average guy. I mean, the average guy, Donald Trump, the average guy. But let's
Right.
send a common man to Washington and see what he does. Okay, that's over with. That doesn't exist anymore. That person doesn't exist. This is now the inside politician.
Yeah.
And people don't look at him in the same way, and they don't look to him as an alternative. And what they want now in all this, just this crisis that's going on with the COVID and with everything else, all they want is some semblance of peace and quiet, and somebody who somehow is going to make them feel better. And Trump isn't going to make them feel better. That's not Trump's stock and trade. So
what Trump has going against him is that most presidential elections are a referendum on the incumbent. It really usually is as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's a referendum on the incumbent and his record, period.
Yeah.
And under those circumstances, he's up shit's creek.
You know, what I didn't like, what Biden didn't take advantage of, and I don't know why he never answered a question this way, maybe he just doesn't feel this way. When they asked him, when he kept bringing up, well, you had 8 years as, in office to change things, blah, 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 blah. My answer would have been, I don't know if you paid any attention, but I wasn't the president. I was the vice president. I could only advise.
Yeah.
I couldn't,
Yeah.
I couldn't
and
enact
I would also
stuff.
say, oh yeah, we didn't do anything. How about we saved the auto industry? How about we saved the fucking country from going into a massive depression? How about we fucking created more goddamn jobs in the last 3 years of our administration than what you created in the first 3 years of your administration? Why didn't he say that?
And he could have said too, we killed Bin Laden, which is all
Several times.
Yeah.
conspiracy theory.
Yeah, we killed Bin Laden. But, I mean,
he doesn't have the killer instinct,
Who?
Yeah,
Biden? Yeah.
Fight, yeah.
Mhm.
He doesn't think on his feet about, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Openings he could
also,
go
I mean,
for the throat. He needs to go right for. I mean, Trump goes very personal. Biden should go right back at him, right back at his throat.
Yeah, the other problem I had with Biden tonight was, and these are all going a debate thing, is that he was talking a little fast and tripping over himself to try and get an idea out. And that, because he has a stutter or had a stutter when he was younger and worked his way out of that, part of working yourself out of it is to know that you really shouldn't talk very fast, and he was kind of I just felt at certain points he was talking just a little too fast, But, I mean, what does the debate prove? Not a damn thing. Who won the debate? Well, who cares?
Who cares?
We care about the American people winning. Okay, and I just think they've had the novelty of a Trump. They're tired of it. They've gone into Trump fatigue.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's not going to get him elected again. And people will then look at Biden and go, hey, he's a nice enough guy. His name is Joe. I mean, come on, what's better than a good old Joe, right? And that he won't ruin the country. He won't make it terrible. So let's give him a shot. Couldn't hurt. That couldn't hurt. They felt with Trump, couldn't hurt. I got news for you. 4 more years of that, folks, and there isn't a United States of America any longer.
It's going to be fucking crazy if he loses, and then what's going to happen before the inauguration? Can you imagine the crazy ass shit he's going to be doing?
The only hope that I would have is, let's say he won, is that he won, but we got the Senate and the Congress.
Yeah.
Then he can't do anything.
Yeah.
Then
I wouldn't be surprised though.
Huh?
I don't know. He'd go nuts. I mean, 4 more years of this nutcase. There's no telling what that motherfucker will do.
Well, I'm just hoping.
Get rid of Barr. And get somebody in there.
Well, Barr's gone. I mean, if Biden becomes president.
Barr, there's a whole bunch of people that'll be cleaned out.
I know who he'd like to probably make Attorney General, but he won't take the job. And that's Cuomo.
Cuomo?
Yeah.
Susan Rice for Secretary of State.
Yeah, because Cuomo was Attorney General of the state of New York at one point. You know.
You know, might be good Attorney General would be what's his name? The guy from down in L.A. The dude that's got a big bug up Trump's ass. What's his name?
Oh,
You know, the guy from
Garcetti?
No.
Who's-
The guy that was the lead prosecutor in the impeachment.
Yeah, well, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
My mind's a
Guy-
blank right now, but I'm an old man. I don't remember things easily. So
Yeah.
you know.
The guy that Trump's always calling him pencil neck.
Yeah, I noticed tonight that Malaria was wearing a face mask.
Yeah.
You know,
Hypocrites.
I don't know if anybody else next to her was, but you know, she's supposedly still sick. Actually, she's been coughing and still has it, you know. But and things are getting worse around the country. I mean,
yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You
And he's talking about right around the corner. Herd mentality.
Yeah, Jeff's got his hand up. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, I'll give you guys my update on my oldest son. He 2 guys in his office are sick now.
Oh boy.
And my son is he was working at the office. Now he's got to stay at home for 2 weeks.
Well, I have the Cuomo. Where is it here? The latest Cuomo thing, and the positivity rate in the microcluster focus areas was 3.2%. Okay, statewide positivity rate, excluding those areas, in other words, the hot zones, was a 0.96%. That's good because it's below 1%. But there were a total of 986 total hospitalizations. Now, we've gone as low as like into the 400s in the last month or so. So that's not good. Of the 135,341 tests that we did yesterday, 1,628 were reported, or 1.2% were positive. So the overall for the state was 1.2. Without the hot zones, it was a 0.96. We lost, this is the highest I can remember it in 3 or 4 months. We lost 15 New Yorkers to the virus yesterday. So even here, it's not looking great. You know, I mean, it is looking great here. I mean, you compare that to Nevada. You have in Nevada right now 59% infection rate.
Wow.
59%. Now you put that against our 1.2 with all the stuff taken into consideration, we're doing okay. I think we're ahead of Connecticut now, yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the worst is North Dakota.
No, the worst is
Unbelievable.
the worst is Nevada. The worst is Nevada.
North Dakota's big problem is they don't have any resources.
Yeah, and
Right.
then, you know, 15 people
I mean,
die.
hospitals.
15 people die of COVID in North Dakota, and there are no people living in North Dakota anymore.
Right.
What is it?
Combined Dakotas.
Who is it that keeps bringing it up? Maybe it's Bill Maher or whatever, that he doesn't understand why there's a North Dakota and a South Dakota.
Just combine them.
If you put the two Dakotas together, their total population won't amount to much of anything, right?
Right.
And yet, between them, they've got 4 senators and how many congressmen?
Right. As many senators as New York and New Jersey combined.
Yeah, exactly.
New York and California combined.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, I mean, this is not right. There is something not right here. Yeah.
They should split California into North and South and give us 2 more senators.
Well, for years, as I was growing up, it always came up about making Northern California the 51st state.
Yeah.
That they felt that Southern California and Northern California didn't have much in common.
Yeah.
And that dude, and plus we had all the power up in up in Northern California because they got all their water from us, you know. But it never happened. It never did the two different states. But that could be split up into two states, and the two halves are so different from one another.
Yeah.
That you know that you could do it and nobody would be bothered by it.
So before the show is over, let's review, so I'm sure I understand this. The President of the United States gets impeached for trying to elicit a foreign government to dig up dirt on a political opponent.
Yeah.
He gets impeached in the House. He gets passed by in the Senate by a few votes.
Right.
And now he's eliciting help from a foreign government to besmirch Joe Biden in broad daylight.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure I understood that.
I think you have that one correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. And it's in the Ukraine, by the way, where they were trying to get the Ukraine. Remember, they were trying to get the Ukrainian prime minister to get the goods on Joe Biden. Otherwise, they weren't going to send them relief money or something like that.
Yeah.
And finally, they said, we can't because we don't have anything against Joe Biden.
Right.
And there was enough hue and cry about it that Trump dropped the whole idea. But I mean, that was pretty skeezy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, you know, do we live in a democracy still? I don't know.
It's close.
I always felt we lived in the illusion of a democracy, because really, I mean, you would say if you said to a black person in the South years ago, "Do we live in a democracy?" They would tell you, "Well, I don't know. I don't get to vote.
Yeah.
You know, they suppress my vote." So, I mean, we've always lived in kind of an illusionary democracy. Only some people have a democracy, others don't. I know Charlie just bobs his head up and down agreeing with me.
Yeah.
Which you can't see that on the audio portion of the show, but he's very active with the show is concerned by nodding his head. But do you think Biden's going to win this one? Do you think we got a good shot?
I hope so.
Huh? God, I'm hoping
I hope so.
I don't know what I'm going to do if he loses. I just don't know what I'm going to do.
I don't know what MSNBC and Fox are going to talk about when Joe takes office, because it's going to turn boring in a hurry.
Yeah, that's true.
When they don't have Trump to kick around anymore?
Yeah, no, really. You know, he's a source of you know, great news coverage, jokes. Comedians are going to go belly up.
My friend Will Durst, who had a stroke and is in a hospital and is a political comedian, said, of all times for me to get a stroke.
Yeah, right.
You know, as he laid there in the bed with a stroke, and I'm talking to him, he goes, I said, well, listen, don't worry about it, because even if you didn't have the stroke, you wouldn't be working because there's COVID out there, no clubs are open. So
plus, you can't write shit funnier than this.
No, right. You can't make this crap up. Yeah. Hey, listen, this has been a delightful evening spent with good friends. That's what I like about it. You know, many times I say I don't have any best friends except for my friend Shecky. But, you know, you guys have all kind of become best friends just by attrition.
Good friends.
You know, I really, and I thank you for coming to talk to me every night and hang out with me and have this little party. Robert Natali, thank you. Charlie, always, as always, thank you. Jeff, always, thank you. John Larkin, great. And Tony, of course, you know, you and your wallpaper and your chintz curtains. Yeah, get out of here.
Giving.
Okay, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's our citizen panel for tonight. Everybody wave goodbye, and I will wave goodbye. You know who wasn't here tonight? Brian wasn't here tonight. Well, probably tomorrow night. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye. That's our citizen panel for tonight, and that's our program for tonight. Jack Bishop is next with The Intersection. He'll be here, and it'll be they do it on Skype at gabnet.net is the address you can use. Okay, all right, it's that simple. And I'll see you tomorrow night, 10:30, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, As always, if you see her, tell her I love her, and please be safe out there and wear a goddamn mask.